Hey, yo, I want to talk about the hypocrisy of the phrase "don't yuck my yum," why you shouldn't use it, and I'm gonna be honest y'all, this is a video channel. What I make is intended to have a visual element. In my video discussing how the number of rares per pack fluctuates from set to set, I had a whole bunch of charts and graphs to show you so there was something on screen. In my video on the potential I think Magic's lore and narrative has to be successful in other media, I showed you this mock-up of a book cover, which is a joke I felt deserved way more recognition. And in my video on the death of Magic as a whole, I showed you Theseus's dick. Now if you want to treat my shows like a podcast, only listening instead of watching because for some baffling reason you don't want to look at Theseus's dick, that's fine, you're free to watch how you want, obviously. But firstly, I won't say I won't yuck your yum about it for reasons I'm going to explain. And secondly, I'm shocked that I feel the need to cover this topic at all, because I find those aforementioned reasons to be so obvious, so common sense, so unnecessary to say out loud that I'm actually a bit worried about the lack of appropriate things I have to show you on screen. This whole video can't just be me saying, yeah, obviously this phrase is stupid, think about it even for a moment, don't say it, stop using it. You realise you can just like stuff, right? You don't need to tell other people to shut up to enjoy something. Is your yum really so fragile that you can't stand having the flaws in it discussed? You understand nothing is perfect, right, and everyone is different. Maybe you should re-examine your relationship to your yum if you can't handle that. But that's not visually interesting, right? And so I thought of a solution. Whenever I feel the need to say the phrase "don't yuck my yum" or I'm discussing its use and there is absolutely no new appropriate visual element that I can put on screen to accompany what I'm saying, instead I'm going to display a picture of a Magic legendary character I think I could absolutely dominate in a knife fight. One-on-one in the Phyrexian arena, Black Blade reforged in the middle, and I reckon I'm coming out on top. So let's test it out. Don't yuck my yum, why not? Why can't people voice their complaints? Why in terms of preference do you think yours is supreme? Why should your enjoyment come at the expense of the silence of others? Why should other people be quiet when they are unhappy? Some people can go on a bit, I get it, I'm one of them, but what gives you the right to tell them to shut up about something they clearly care about? You sound like you're tired of the social element of this social game. You like the Magic, but you don't like the gathering? Is that it? Well then maybe this game isn't for you. And I think that's visually more interesting, so let's drill down into it. Don't yuck my yum, and I want to start with some context. It's a phrase that I'm sure can be used in many different ways for many different circumstances, but today's video is a response to its use in one specific instance that I'm sure we're all familiar with. Curtains. Hello, have you seen the new Universes Beyond product? Yes, I have and I hate it. I really don't want to play with external IP character. Well, I love external IP character and I'm going to build a deck around it to play against you. Well, I wish you wouldn't, seeing these characters in Magic ruins the game for me. Well, I'm going to anyway, don't yuck my yum. As I pointed out in that Magic is Dead video, this game isn't one thing. Everyone wants it to be something different, and so basically any aspect of Magic the Gathering that one person finds fault with, there will be another that loves that aspect. But partly because Magic is marketed as one game and treated as though everyone who plays it is part of one giant community, instead of the series of vastly different formats that it is in reality, and also in part because the game is competitive, as yes, even in the more social formats people are still trying to win, we as players are left in a situation where we only want to engage with the parts of Magic that we want to engage with personally, but all of it is marketed to us, and if we don't engage with all of it then we might be left behind, if we're even given the choice to avoid engaging with it in the first place. And while yes, the phrase "don't yuck my yum" mostly seems to pop up in conversations surrounding Universes Beyond, it's just an extension of the phrase "this product isn't for you," but now being parroted back by the player base instead of as a tactic employed by WotC's staff to ignore complaints. Meaning this disparity of "well, I like it, you just don't have to play with it" can be used when discussing Universes Beyond, but also mechanically unique secret layers, limited printer exclusive products, changes in availability due to pricing, erratas on cards, overall rules changes, bans, how many legendaries are in a set, the use of certain mechanics during play, WotC's design philosophy, power creep, complexity creep, flavor creep, how many sets in a year, set legality, the printing of full art lands on planes that aren't Zendikar, in-store promotions, the very existence of Planeswalkers, the wokeness of cards, whatever the fuck that means, and on and on and on. Everyone will have a line that's crossed when something is changed or introduced that's a line too far for them that will make them say, "I don't like this thing," resulting in one of three outcomes. They quit playing, they limit their play to only the parts they like, they continue playing unhappily. Regardless of the outcome, these people are probably going to complain about what in their eyes made the game they love worse. The phrase "don't yuck my yum" is then used against these people as a way to tell them to shut up. Most frequently in regards to Universes Beyond it seems, but not exclusively. And that is the context in which I'll be discussing that phrase. I can already tell I'm going to get comments telling me I've misunderstood the meaning of its use, so I want to say again, I'm not talking about it in every instance, I'm talking about its use in this specific rebuttal to complaint context. So what's my problems with it? Well, I think they're fourfold, and I'm going to talk about them in what I feel is order of importance, starting with the dumb one that's dumb, don't take this one too seriously. 1. Mouth sound. Don't yuck my yum. Gross. What an awful expression. This sounds to me like the sort of thing a toddler would say because they haven't learned words yet. Curtains. Hello, Stephen. Fancy meeting you at the office water cooler. Yes, John, I yum the office water cooler. I yummed the latest episode of popular TV show. I yummed it too, it's my yum. I yum leading character. Leading character story arc is my yum. I yum that arc too. Yum, yum, yum yum yum. People don't talk like this in any other situation. Why are we doing it here? So please, if you take nothing else from this video, may I offer some other expressions that convey the exact same meaning so I don't have to keep hearing these terrible words. Don't rain on my parade. Evocative, poetic, beautiful mouth sound, and most importantly will instead make you sound like an adult. Or how about what I expect is the very British expression, don't shit in my cereal. Also very evocative, punchier, and another good mouth sound, colourful and fun. Or finally, let's drop the ambiguity and just say what we mean. I don't care what you think, I like it and that's all that matters to me. And that is wordier and harsh, possibly even selfish, but at least it's honest. Because that is what people are saying when they use the phrase don't yuck my yum. 2. Complaining about complaining. Don't yuck my yum as a phrase is almost exclusively brought up in response to regulate criticism. Sometimes it's even self-regulation. You'll hear people say, well, I don't like current bad product, but I'm hesitant to say anything bad about it because I don't want to yuck people's yum. Due to the fact that those people will complain about the criticism, right? People will complain as a way to police the complaints of others. As if one type of criticism is more valid than another, which is obviously nonsense. And yes, this entire video is me complaining about people complaining about people complaining, and when you leave a rebuttal to my point in the comments you'll be adding another complaint to the chain. The irony is not lost on me, but trust me, I don't want to be here, I wish this phrase didn't exist. I also want to live in an ideal world where we have no reason to complain about anything in the first place, but that's not the world we live in, and telling people to stop complaining about anything other than complaining won't get us there. If we have no complaints about something that we love, at best we'll maintain that thing's status quo. But more realistically, we'll be allowing it to degrade and get worse over time. Entropy is unstoppable and we only reach an ideal world by pointing out the flaws in things and correcting them. Progress can't just be driven by positivity because something is only ever as strong as its weakest point. If you want something to be perfect, you can't ignore any issues with it and instead need to fix said issues. For example, if it weren't for the pushback from complainers about Magic 30, WotC would have received the message that $1,000 for 4 packs of proxies is acceptable, and then pushed harder the next time to try and find the ceiling of what we'll put up with. And I'd like to think we can mostly agree that as a product this was predatory and bad for everyone who plays, even predatory and bad for the people who were in favour of Magic 30 that liked, defended and promoted it. A rising tide raises all ships, but a drought can devastate every boat in the harbour regardless of their captain's opinion on rainfall. If the attitude of, well, I think Magic 30 is bad but I won't yuck people's yum prevailed, who knows where we would all be now? And we know that direct complaining works. That's why WotC put out this survey trying to find which influencers were to blame for the failing Spider-Man set. The set was bad, so we complained. WotC at least seemed to believe that complaints led to further lack of sales, meaning WotC are less likely to repeat the same mistakes that were being complained about in the future, leading to better products for everyone, regardless of whether they complained or not. Complaining is good for everyone who plays. Complaining about people complaining does nothing but potentially stunt progress. And to speak to the users of this phrase for a moment, just because something is good for you doesn't mean it's good for everyone. If you're happy with the status quo, congratulations, you made it to the top. Do not pull the ladder up behind you so that other people don't get to experience the same. And if that means that you have to share, then I think you should take joy in knowing that other people can experience the same contentment as you. Saying don't yuck my yum translates to I'm happy and I don't want to hear why you're not. And hey, maybe things can't be perfect for everyone, maybe that ideal world is unattainable. But Magic's only a fucking card game, so I think at the very least we should be able to attain a level of satisfaction for everyone who plays. And yes, I imagine those compromises would either cost WotC money or result in less profit for them. For instance, they could have just printed those in-universe Spider-Man Arena cards so that even the people that don't like Universes Beyond could still enjoy the mechanical design of the cards. But that will cost WotC a little bit of money, so they don't want to do that. personally, I feel considering WotC are basically holding up all of Hasbro financially at the moment, they could probably afford to reinvest the record-breaking profits they've been making lately back into the game so that everyone could be happy. And the fact they choose not to means that every time a "don't yuck my yum" argument breaks out, we should remember, WotC could choose to fix the problems and keep everyone happy, but don't for money. And so if you find yourself saying to someone "don't yuck my yum," maybe redirect your ire and think about instead saying, well, what would be your yum, and what compromise could WotC implement to make you happy? I bet you'll be surprised how simple many of the answers to that question will be. 3. Love is strength. I love Magic the Gathering. I have a YouTube channel where I talk about it. It is an incredibly large part of my life, and yet I criticize it all the time. My love is strong enough to weather that criticism. I'm still here and I keep playing. Not to an irresponsible degree, because I also respect that for WotC my love for this game is a business transaction. And so when a set comes out that I don't like, I don't buy it. When a choice is made that I don't like, I don't support it. And when the game is taken in a direction that I disagree with, I massively reduce the amount that I'm playing. And I can do that because I love Magic the Gathering. Being ignorant is okay. Remaining ignorant is not. Ignorance as a word tends to be used as an insult, but it just means not knowing something, and it's okay to not know something. None of us are omniscient. But if someone feels a certain way about something and then learns new information about that thing that should change their perspective, but chooses to ignore that information and carry on as if they didn't know, then they'll be exhibiting the kind of ignorance that tends to upset people. "Don't yuck my yum" is often used as a shield against hearing negative information. People claim to love something but for some reason can't stand to have the flaws in that thing pointed out, and so they default to "I like it and I don't want to hear anything bad said about it." And that blatant ignorance is in part why the phrase to many is so offensive. So if you use this phrase, I would like to suggest 2 alternatives. Either listen to the negativity, don't just tell someone to shut up, and try to empathically understand why the other person holds their belief, and then perhaps change your perspective if you agree, as even WotC have proven themselves capable of. Enough people pointed out that the card Invoke Prejudice is, not great. So rather than say, well, I like it, so don't yuck my yum, they gave it a content warning and banned it in all formats. Or alternatively, if you actually don't care what other people think, because let's face it, ignorance is bliss, then just embrace that philosophy and own it. Don't stop someone from complaining, but instead listen to the complaints and then say, yeah, I know it has problems, but I don't care, it makes me happy. Because at least your honesty could be respected. And if you think this is what you're saying when you bust out "don't yuck my yum," notice the difference between "I acknowledge the issues but choose to ignore them" versus "I want you to stop pointing the issues out." They are not the same. For instance, I like Planeswalker cards, I think they're cool. I understand there's still many players that think they ruined the game, and I understand their reasoning why. But for me, the positives outweigh the negatives, so I still choose to like them and will tell people that when they come up in conversation. What I don't do when someone complains about Planeswalker cards is tell them to shut up for fear of it affecting my enjoyment. Love is strength. If it's real, it can weather criticism. 4, and this is the big one, hypocrisy. Every use of this phrase that I can think of boils down to hypocrisy in one form or another. And as I say, I see it used most commonly in regard to Universes Beyond, so let's use that as an example, and I want you to tell me in which of these 2 scenarios was it more unacceptable to say. Curtains. Scenario 1. Hi, want to play Magic? Yes, but I like external IPs, so don't complain that I want us to play with Universes Beyond cards in our game. I don't want to play with external IPs, I like thematic consistency. Tough, don't yuck my yum. Scenario 2. Hi, want to play Magic? Yes, but I like thematic consistency, so don't complain that I want us to play with in-universe cards in our game. I don't want to play with in-universe cards, I like Universes Beyond. Tough, don't yuck my yum. These are the same, just opposite, but I bet scenario 2 is the one that people will say is more unacceptable. So why is one of these perspectives seen as more valid than another? And it is a binary. You can't have thematic consistency if you're playing with Universes Beyond. You can't play with Universes Beyond and maintain thematic consistency. Also, it's not your deck, my deck. Magic isn't solitaire. It's a game that we have to play together. Both players will have to block or be attacked by each other's creatures and be affected by each other's spells. There is no just ignoring your opponent in a game. So actually yes, what someone chooses to put into their deck will obviously affect the gameplay experience of their opponent. And if we care about everyone having a good time, that is something we need to consider. This obviously gets more complicated in competitive environments, but in casual ones, Rule 0 exists for a reason. But you don't often hear "don't yuck my yum" in defense of things like poison counters or land destruction, because I believe players have generally come to accept that even if legal, certain styles of play aren't fun. And we do overall want people to enjoy playing. And in my experience, I find that sentiment to be true in most formats. People want to win, but they want to win in a fun way that everyone enjoys with a deck that they love. So why have we come to accept the opposite philosophy when it comes to flavour? And if you think that complaints over mechanics and rules are more valid than complaints over flavour, then I point out that probably isn't the case for the person complaining about Universes Beyond. For many, poison counters and land destruction in the game is actually less egregious than Spider-Man and SpongeBob. But again, Don't Yuck My Yum basically boils down to, well, I got mine, so fuck you. And that attitude could be applied to not just flavour, but any aspect of the game. Some people do that, of course, you're always going to have a few dicks. But overall, Magic players tend to be pretty nice and everyone likes something different, so I find the use of this phrase hypocritical and against the gathering part of Magic. I like Planeswalkers, some people don't. So you know what I do? I listen to the reasons why and I try to find a way to play that makes us both happy. What I don't do is dig my heels in and tell that person to shut up by saying don't yuck my yum. Because I know full well that there will be things that they love about the game that I don't. So let's find a middle ground, because compromise is how we make everyone happy. And yes, that may mean having to sacrifice getting exactly what you want every time. For another example, I personally don't like Universes Beyond. I wish it had never been introduced. But I do not advocate for its removal. Instead, I want a compromise of either having multiple formats where they are and aren't legal so people have a choice how to play, or WotC should just print in-universe versions of those cards, so even if someone does play a Universes Beyond card against me, I can just think of it as the in-universe version. I maintain that the Godzilla cards and I guess SpongeBob cards are still the best example of this working. Normalizing Universes Beyond in every format in every game all of the time, and telling anyone who doesn't like that to shut up is not compromise. Don't yuck my yum as a phrase shuts down the ability to compromise because it entrenches people in their own opinions. So if you hate the mouth sound of it, think that complaining is actually good for progress, love Magic enough that you can hear a perspective on it other than your own, and believe compromise makes for a better game for everyone, then here's a trick if you're sick of hearing this phrase or having it said to you. From now on, don't say I don't like this one thing, but instead flip it to I like everything else. Focus on the positive. For example, instead of saying I don't like Universes Beyond, let's all try saying I like thematic consistency, because saying it that way emphasizes what you love, and with any luck should make the person trying to shut you down realize that this idea of criticism superiority is nonsense, and it allows you to conversationally establish that you're the one with the opinion based in love for Magic, meaning that if they try to tell you that actually they do want you to play with Universes Beyond cards, now it's your turn to hit them with the don't yuck my yum and see how they like it. Except don't do that though, this phrase sucks, it's hypocritical and anti-compromise. Also, it's now dawning on me that my choice of visual element may have been sending the wrong message. Yeah. I shouldn't have opened this video by talking about Theseus's dick. Again. Thank you for watching this video, and thank you to everyone that supports me, like 27 publications, Eggboy the Particle that permeates all existence, Blank Space, Wan Paco Jozu, Miss Murder, a random Patreon, Ominous Jazz, and the rest of my patrons whose names are on screen now. I'd also like to thank the sponsor for this video, me and my Patreon page, where you can get your name credited on screen too. Check it out in the link in the description below. Hit the like button, leave a comment, insist on compromise, it's only a card game, come on. Most importantly, subscribe and share this video with a friend. Hit the notification bell and do all those things the algorithm loves. If you agree or disagree with any of my points, or you want to see me do a video on another subject, let me know and I will see you next time.